Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Poetry Thursday, an embattled little BookTube ritual where some of us read you poetry, the least represented kind of literature anywhere on BookTube other than explicit pornography. uh, and I am going through one particular book, not of explicit pornography. I have dog fancy for that, but this 20th century American poetry. Uh, and I am going through this chronologically. So we're just working our way towards Gotterdammerung. We're working our way towards that fateful year, just past the midway point of the year, when American poetry died as a popular genre and has never come back. In fact, it's moved into hinterlands where it isn't even recognizable. And where I have had green-haired 20-something people call themselves poets because when it came time for them to come to a reading in the Cantab Lounge, they brought an apple, stood up on stage, and said, "Here's my poem," and were rapturously applauded. But we aren't there yet. In fact, today we're dealing with not only a good poet, but a great one. Today is Edna St. Vincent Millay, one of my favorite poets of all time. Who just happens to be lodged here right in this anthology. So I'm going to read you two poems of hers. And one is one that I've read already, I think, on a Poetry Thursday before I got locked into this book. So we'll read this from 1920. This is Recuerdo. That is Edna St. Vincent Millay in one register. And then we'll read a completely different register, although I would argue they have a lot in common. So this is Recuerdo. We were very tired, we were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. It was bare and bright and smelled like a stable, but we looked into a fire. We leaned across a table. We lay on a hilltop underneath the moon, and the whistles kept blowing, and the dawn came soon. We were very tired, we were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. And you ate an apple, and I ate a pear, from a dozen of each we had bought somewhere. And the sky went wan, and the wind came cold, and the sun rose dripping, a bucketful of gold. We were very tired, we were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. We hailed, "Good morrow, mother," to a shawl-covered head, and bought a morning paper, which neither of us read. And she wept, "God bless you," for the apples and pears, and we gave her all our money, but our subway fares. That is utterly perfect. I think that is utterly delightful. It is a perfect poem in which an obviously older narrator is remembering the joyous formlessness of youth and a wonderful adventure in flashes of sensory and appreciative poetic detail without all the integumentary stuff that goes along with it. We don't get any of the founding or the connecting details, just those flashes. And they work wonderfully, just wonderfully. Now I want to read you a poem in a different register. I would argue it's close to that because all these things are an older narrator reflecting. But this is much more in the register that Edna St. Vincent Millay liked to mind the most. It's the one that made her poetry recitals into mini stage dramas on their own. It had people lined around the block to go and witness one of her poetry recitals. This is, let's see here. Let me find the right one. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied. That's the name of the poem. This is from 1917. So keep in mind, published earlier than the one we just read. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied. Who told me time would ease me of my pain. I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him at the shrinking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountainside, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain, heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go, so with his memory they brim. And entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot or shone his face, I say, there is no memory of him here, and so stand stricken, so remembering him. So that is a poem about not only grief, but the inescapability of grief. time does not heal it. It goes with you everywhere. Now, there's a bit of poetic license here, as Edna St. Vincent Millay actually lived long enough to know. The saying "time heals all wounds" does not apply to the loss of deep, deep loves. It never doesn't hurt. The sentiment of the poem, the governing sentiment of the poem, that no matter where you go, it's there. There is no freedom from it. It's a stage of grief. It's a phase of it, and it's captured really well in this poem. Just wonderfully well. Two emotional states of, I would argue, remembrance are captured perfectly well here. This anthology pleases me greatly by having quite a few Edna St. Vincent Millay poems. I love them all. I absolutely love this poet. That won't stay true, unfortunately, for Poetry Thursday. Our Poetry Thursdays, where I am ecstatically happy with the poet, are going to get thinner on the ground as time goes on. But we're signed on for the long haul. We're going to read the whole of this book. So I'll wrap this up for now, and we'll see what we get next Thursday. Thank you, BookTube.